Breaking news, Italy has locked down 10 cities in the north of the country as the cases begin to skyrocket. We're going to look at the videos of the liquidation in China to understand what's coming our way. We're hearing that France is holding a major farmers market, expecting nearly 1 million visitors from every little small town and village in the country. It'll be televised. It'll be known as one of the world's biggest super spreader events ever. And of course, this new world order has done everything it can to invite this disease into our cities. They want to exterminate you. It's no different than the death towers, no different than the fluoride, the vaccines, the GMOs, the pesticides. They're spraying you like bugs because they want to exterminate you. And they've unleashed this virus because they want to exterminate you. We're going to be looking at these videos. They're shocking, disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. We're looking at a genocide. We're looking at war crimes. And it's important that this is documented, that everybody knows what's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we've seen the videos like these, videos that nobody's ever seen before, mass spraying. You thought the chemtrails were bad. Now they're spraying you like bugs, ladies and gentlemen. They're erecting, massive barriers, quarantining, shutting down entire blocks. The extermination has begun, and everyone is a suspect, ladies and gentlemen. The checkpoints are going to start coming up, and if you have a fever, if you have the flu, they're going to take you away, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we've seen disturbing videos like these where people are just dropping dead, corpses everywhere. People can't get food, they can't get anything. We advise you to start preparing now. Prepare for the liquidation, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare for the body bags out there. Pull your kids out of school right now and start preparing. Quit your job, start preparing. This is no joke, if you can. Most people won't be able to escape the genocide, and that's the plan. That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to turn all of our big cities into a major concentration camp, and they're going to liquidate and exterminate. If you can evacuate from these big cities, do so now, ladies and gentlemen. Don't panic, just prepare. It's coming, and you need to ride out the storm. Again, we're looking at videos of the genocide, this bioweapon that was released from their weapons lab has circulated around the world. The outbreak is now starting around the world. We've got a huge explosion of cases in South Korea, Japan, Singapore, Iran, just to name a few. And in Italy right now, their caseload just jumped from 3 to 19. And there's all sorts of people that are contaminated. They're fearing, every city has cases right now around the world. And if countries like Japan and South Korea are melting down, you can bet that just about every major city in the world is melting down right now. These cases didn't just, start by people walking from China to Japan. They took a plane there. And if Japan is melting down, if South Korea is melting down, if Singapore, a little city-state is melting down, then undoubtedly just about every major city in the world is melting down right now. And instead of taking it seriously, instead of trying to get ahead of this problem, ladies and gentlemen, they're inviting disaster with their arrogance and the like. And people should start preparing right now. Give up the nightlife, ladies and gentlemen. Forget the rallies and the sports, the sporting events. Avoid the first wave of this epidemic, and it's happening right now. And the best thing you can do is start focusing your energy on survival instead of trying to forget about the situation. This virus won't forget you, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're unprepared, you'll have a tampon on your face too. Looking for food, looking for water, looking for medicine. Get all that stuff right now. Focus on it in the next few days. Every day, go get a truckload of stuff if you can. Guns, ammo, booze, ladies and gentlemen, before it's too late, before it all runs out. And of course, the whole system is going to come crashing down. We're going to have to adjust to going back to the 1800s for the most part. And it's going to be pretty wild. This beast system is about to get wiped out. And of course, they're pretending like nothing's going on. It's like a Jonestown cult, and they want everybody to drink the Kool-Aid. Don't go out like that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go out like the sheeple. You can't help them even if you wanted to. Now, these hospitals that were built in just days with the prison bars on them and the like were just a few 100 feet away from the crematorium. They built these hospitals right next to the crematorium. These hospitals were basically a transit to the furnace. And there's nothing else you can say but, don't go out quietly into the night, ladies and gentlemen. They'll be sending goon squads into your neighborhoods. They'll be trying to collect you and say that you've been infected. And when that time comes, be prepared. Be prepared to take out the goon squad. And get a radio jammer. That way there's no calls coming in or out. Are you okay? Are you okay? That's all you can do, ladies and gentlemen. And if we all collectively take out these goon squads, there won't be much left. They're planning, the post-apocalyptic world. They're planning that everybody's just going to go out quietly, like the Chinese. The Chinese have been disarmed. They basically have gone, building to building, telling people that their building has been contaminated, and people, will go willingly. Oh, please save us. And they're never seen from again. So don't go out like that. If we couldn't lock down Iraq, which is a country, a third world country with, just a fraction of the population, they're certainly not going to be able to lock down America if we push back, ladies and gentlemen. And, no matter what happens out there, going to these camps is certainly going to be synonymous with death. And when that time comes, when the goon squad comes to your building, to your block, and locks everything down, you need to put up a fight. And you need to, talk to your neighbors, start a neighborhood watch, block off your cities, block off your towns, block off your street, block off your neighborhood if you can. And eventually, it'll come to that. You'll think it's a wonderful idea. Pay attention to what the Chinese are doing to survive, because undoubtedly you'll have to deploy similar methods, ladies and gentlemen. Whether it be the goggles, the masks, the visors, and the like, the gloves, you have to learn everything you can about this outbreak, about this virus. And we're learning, all sorts of information about what this bioweapon does. And it's set up to destroy cities. It's set up to sneak attack. It's set up to circumvent all sorts of containment measures, standard containment measures, masks, quarantines, PCR tests, lab tests. So, you're really going to have to become a super germaphobe if you want to survive, ladies and gentlemen, to say the least. And of course, a mask is not a bulletproof vest. And you're really going to want to, do everything you can to avoid crowds, to avoid breathing in other people's air, to avoid, direct conversations with people for the time being. Avoid shaking hands and the like. We recommend, basically just to go out to do your shopping, wear rubber gloves, and if the aisle is crowded, just go to a different aisle, wait, come back, and the like. We recommend people stock up on everything. But essentially, these are some of the products that you might find useful. Hydrogen peroxide, it deactivates coronavirus. Look how desperate these people are. No food, no water, no guns, no ammo, no booze. Right? So they seem like they got a lot of stuff. They seem pretty well off, right? And they're just like, that's it. And we're seeing now, we're now seeing mass suicides out there. People jumping off buildings, hanging themselves, burning down their apartment, and the like. They can't escape. They've been buried alive, ladies and gentlemen. Get your hydrogen peroxide. Get cranberry juice, the pure cranberry juice. This virus attacks the kidneys, the urinary system. It attacks the liver, so whatever you can get for liver detox, and that's really up to you. Artichoke, as well as black beets, are known to clean out the liver, but I'm sure everybody's got their own recipe. You're going to want to get perhaps eucalyptus tea, anything that might open up the lungs and prevent irritation, prevent inflammation. That's really how this disease progresses, as well as most diseases. You're going to want to get baking soda, the best kind that you can get, and microdose that at the onset of symptoms. Thinking about the hydrogen peroxide, you can use that to gargle. You can use that to swab out your nose, prevent nesting after going out. You can use it to wash your hands. We recommend white vinegar out there as a disinfectant. It's less toxic than bleach, and the like. Bleach turns into chlorine, and you just end up gassing yourself. And of course, excessive use of bleach will lead to inflammation and chemical burns of the lungs. So you kind of want to avoid that. Get all the food you can, or else you're going to end up like these people, basically fighting over a bag of rice. And we saw videos of people, basically willing to trade everything they own just for a bag of rice in the last days. So stock up now. Rice is always going to be, a nice choice. It's storable, and a bag of that stuff can last you quite a while. But you'll be pretty suicidal if all you have to eat is rice. Now, not everybody is going to be able to, get everything they need. Besides, you're never going to be as prepared as you're never going to be prepared for what's coming. But if you can't get everything you need, then start thinking about cooperating with people that are close to you, so that you can weather the storm. You're going to want to think about security as things break down and people, lose their or run out of food. They're going to come raping and pillaging, ladies and gentlemen. Here we're seeing, more goon squads basically extracting people. And, at first they just came for 1 or 2 people in a building. And then they came back to the building and, with buses, and they're like, your building's been infected. It's part of the PSYOP. And then they just trucked everybody away. Ladies and gentlemen, we're probably looking at a full liquidation of the city of Wuhan. Millions of people killed. And of course they're hiding the numbers. They've been, very secretive, dishonest since the beginning. And you can kind of understand why, even from, a very simplistic point of view. Nobody wants to, lock down their economy or their country because of a thing like this. You can't imagine, the economic toll that it's costing right now. But, we're seeing the same thing in every other country. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to lock things down, but eventually they'll figure out it's cheaper to lock down now rather than later. Here we're seeing, some of these prison pods, and we're seeing the same thing in the UK. They're setting up pods like this everywhere. They've passed laws. If you're suspected of having the virus, they're going to arrest you. Wow, the video guy. So these are all the videos that have managed to that we managed to smuggle out of the Iron Curtain. And of course, most of the people that took these videos were arrested and sentenced to 15 years for spreading rumors. It's more than obvious that this bioweapon that quote-unquote escaped the lab was released with the purpose of killing as many people as it could, Georgia Guidestone style. And we've seen every country basically invite this virus in through planes and other means and the like. And it's just like another 9/11, ladies and gentlemen. The planes are 20 miles out. The planes are 10 miles out. Do the orders still stand? Of course the orders still stand. This is a new 9/11. They're doing everything they can to let this thing grow by not talking about it, by sending faulty tests out there and the like. And so you can bet that every country is as bad as South Korea, Iran, and the like. And so it won't be long. The lockdown is imminent. You probably only have days at this stage to get your supplies. And, given what we're seeing in Italy, that they're locking down towns, not big cities, but small towns, this thing is pretty much everywhere right now. So it's already a moderate to high risk environment out there in your town, in your city. And so you should act accordingly. Be a germaphobe, wear gloves. It might be a little weird to break out the masks and the goggles at Walmart right now, but you can wear gloves and avoid getting anywhere near people. Even a crowd of 3 or 4 people is way too many. Here's video from Hong Kong in a major shopping center. This drop dead virus is shown up there. And so we're going to be seeing this in every major city in every country pretty much. And, you're going to be seeing libtards in San Francisco and Chicago and New York do the Twitch. We're going to see lots of Twitchers out there. And it's better to watch this on television than being out there trying to, find toilet paper. So get your stuff now if you can. And, there's a lot of people that can't right now. A lot of people that work paycheck to paycheck. A lot of people that work, at call centers and the like. And, they're going to get the worst of it, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of people that are going to get affected by this. And we're learning right now that, this thing goes dormant like herpes. And so even the people that recover will flare up again eventually. There's no quarantines. There's no vaccines. There's no escaping this outbreak. And, they'll probably be coming by to, quarantine buildings in your neighborhood. Be prepared for that. And again, we've seen them basically bury people alive in these buildings, seal the doors, weld them shut, no escape. That video was from like the first days when people were trying to escape. Then came the lockdown, and then it just turned into a black hole and sucked everybody into it. That was another liquidation event. Here's another liquidation event. And, at first they just kind of extract 1 or 2 people and they say, oh, this guy's infected, your whole building's infected. But we expect them to go door to door, much like the census, and take people's temperatures and the like. We recommend not answering the door and try to evade as much of these checkpoints and controls as you can. Do not cooperate, because they're just looking for an excuse to condemn you. And you can bet that with your Facebook profile and your Twitter and all that stuff, they already know which people are going to be infected before they even show up. It's just to make you think like you are infected. We've actually got a real interesting picture showing that these, thermometers don't really work either. We should have brought that up, but we'll leave that for another broadcast. Of course, if you're tuning in, this is Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live from the dark side of the planet. Be sure to check out our website, stfnreport.com, for regular updates on the latest. But, medical martial law is coming. And, they're going to be fumigating, spraying, arresting people, liquidating, entire cities. Many people will die here, ladies and gentlemen. And you need to prepare, and you need to organize. You need to be the resistance in your town. And you need to go Red Dawn on these people if you have to survive. It's better that you guys survive than, this new world order. They're counting on you going quietly into the night. Did that girl look sick? I mean, she's got a lot of fight in her. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not about who's, infected or not. It's about liquidation. It's about the Georgia Guidestones. And, you should prepare to, cut off your little town from the world if you're out there in a small town. That's the best place to be right now. Living in a city is basically a death sentence with this virus coming into town. But prepare to cut off your towns. Prepare to, weather the storm for as long as 90 days, to be quite honest with you. Most quarantines will probably run 30 days, but maybe less, maybe more. And then what happens? You got to go out there and just try and get food or something like that. It's going to be a nightmare. Well, we'll have to see how this all devolves, but you can bet that this story is going to get worse and worse and worse. In the first days of Wuhan, it just looked like they were going to shut down the city. As far as traffic going in and out. And then they started putting in place curfews. People could only go out every other day. Then it was every 3 days. Then it was once a week. And now it's like they can't go out at all. That's literally the new law. And so it's like a slippery slope. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And this whole outbreak, this whole story has been going on for just about a month now since the lockdown in Wuhan. And, this isn't going away anytime soon. This isn't just like, a story that's here today and gone tomorrow. That would be, short term. That would be acute. But, this has been nearly a month, and it's just going to drag on. This is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. And again, it's only going to get worse and worse. And you can expect the goon squad to show up. Something like this, they may have a nurse and a couple people dressed in, white scrubs and the like, but it's going to go down like this. And, if they want to take you in, invite them in, make them feel comfortable, turn on the jammer and execute the plan, ladies and gentlemen, or else this will be you. All right. And it's easier for Americans to defend themselves than it is for these Chinese and, people in many other countries that have been disarmed. And it's just like, they've been saying on the internet for years. First they came for the guns, right? And then came the genocide. And so now you know why they've been trying to grab as many guns as they could. You've seen all of the Gladio B events over the years since 9/11, and every time it's the same. Turn in your guns, So, in any case, after this all starts breaking loose, you can expect the big cities to basically turn into Mad Max with tribes of, gangsters and the like, raping and pillaging, satellite towns, if you will. And so it's important that people prepare and organize, get a neighborhood watch going. If you know any veterans, get them organized, have them watch these videos that, most of them probably have and are preparing, and hopefully they'll be on your side. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, people should be preparing, to the max right now, everything you can. And if we're all prepared, it'll make it more difficult. If nobody's prepared, then it's going to be impossible to survive. And collectively, we can make a huge difference. Just one person being prepared isn't going to be enough. But if we're all prepared to ride out this storm and we all come out shooting, then it'll be a different story than if we were, if we're unprepared, starving, and just begging for them to take us out to these camps. So do whatever you can to prepare, ladies and gentlemen. Here you're seeing more videos of, the liquidation. And it's like history repeating itself. Back in the day in World War II, they started herding people into ghettos, and then they would transition them to work camps, work them to death, and exterminate many others right on the spot. And here, they've basically turned the cities into a concentration camp. They're forcing you to go, to the work camp, to the job, where you can get gassed and the like. And of course, it's like the gas chambers. The people that walked into those gas chambers, they thought they were just taking a shower. And people, in American streets, they're going to be thinking that they're just going to their job. You know what I mean? And so it's really important that you understand this situation for what it is. Most of the sheeple will never understand. You can't help them, even if you wanted to, ladies and gentlemen. And so, save what you can, save yourselves, and prepare for the worst case scenario. And that's looking more and more likely as days go by. And right now in countries like Iran and Italy and South Korea and Japan, people are getting infected and they don't even know where they got it. Community spreading has begun. And it's spreading like the flu. And once it's in circulation, it's pretty much game over. So at this stage, every day gets riskier and riskier in terms of just going out and doing the normal thing. We highly recommend people, stop doing the normal thing, give up the nightlife, conserve your energy, conserve, everything at this stage. But fatigue management is going to be very important in, what's coming next, whether it be, surviving the infection or just being able to carry out your plans. You should focus all of your energy on survival and the like versus trying to go out there and party like it's 1999. Hopefully, most of you have enjoyed that scene enough for the time being. But, going out there into the bars, into, sports events and the like is just basically, setting you up for infection. And, it could be weeks before you come down with symptoms and you won't even know where or why or how. So it's best to eliminate all risk, as much risk as you can right now. It is going to be very difficult to avoid contamination. Chances are, something will get you, the mail, the money, the neighbor, and the like. And so if you do get infected, most people, as far as we can tell, will survive, but that's not a guarantee. And, we're seeing young people being affected by this, children as well as people in their 20s and 30s, as well as older people. And so, the thing that you're going to want to focus on is managing the disease. And you got to be well rested. You've got to eat well, good food, the best you can. And, supplement that with, we recommend either baking soda, as weird as that sounds, or, homemade lemonade, say 3 lemons for a liter and a half of water. and start chugging that if you start feeling the symptoms. Um, and I'm sure other people have different remedies, like a hot toddy, which is what the British would say, a little whiskey and hot water. Some people might try Vicks. Some people might try something else. But the most important thing is to avoid inflammation and irritation. You don't want to just cough through it like a regular cold and the like. You're going to want to, suppress that cough as much as possible, reduce irritation. We kind of recommend, maybe doing push-ups in kind of like an inverted sense. You have to understand that gravity works a little bit against you when it comes to the progression of respiratory illnesses, and so as you breathe in or just sit, it's just going to start migrating downwards with gravity. So you can try and kind of invert yourself, a little bit and clear out the lungs that way without causing too much irritation. What else can we recommend? Most symptoms are due to dehydration, so you're going to want to be well hydrated, and you're going to want to focus on real water or, lemonade versus soda. You're going to want to forget about anything and everything that might lower your pH. Carbonic acid or, little bubbles in the soda basically make you a little more acidic. So that's why we recommend the baking soda, high quality, food type, and we recommend, somewhere around like an eighth or a tenth of a teaspoon, not a tablespoon. So those are some of the things that you can do in the early stages. Fresh air. This virus loves carbon-rich environments, and so urban air is much different than clean air from the country. And so you want to really kind of focus on air quality as much as you can. What else can we recommend as far as early treatment? There's a few things that that you might be able to pick up in terms of herbal remedies that reduce irritation, that reduce inflammation, and the like. And I'm sure people have a feeling of what we're talking about there. But herbs and spices and plants will probably be something that's okay in the early stages. And what's the early stages going to be like? It'll feel like the flu. It'll feel like bronchitis. And even if it is regular bronchitis, don't take the chance. Just start, doing everything you can to get through it the best you can. Managing this disease will make quite a bit of a difference. But probably the most important factor as far as whether you end up in the ICU or not is going to be virus load, exposure, to put it in a different way. And the more you're exposed, the worse it is. So it's not just like, well, once you get infected, then you can do whatever because you're infected. The more virus you have in you, the worse it is. And so managing virus load is a very important aspect to surviving an epidemic. And the more you're exposed to, the worse it is. The higher your dose, the worse it is. So, even if you're going to get contaminated, not every contamination is the same. It's kind of like going to Fukushima or Chernobyl. You can go there for like 30 seconds, or something like that. But you don't want to be there for like 2 hours. So, make quick in and outs to wherever you're going, the grocery store. Don't linger, don't loiter, don't sit there and talk to people and the like. This is not, going to be a normal year. And so forget about being normal. Focus on being a survivor out there. Do everything you can to prepare and expect, the situation to turn out much like what we're seeing in China. Everything locked down, liquidated, and the like. So prepare for the last stand. Now, the reason that it went this far is because nobody resisted. Nobody could resist. But again, in America, it's much different. Everybody's pretty much armed to the teeth, and collectively, we can repel any type of attempts to liquidate a city. If people are going to drop dead, then they're going to drop dead. And if people are going to expose themselves at the grocery store or at the game, then that's what they're going to do. You don't have to go out like that. But little by little, if people are pushing back, then the system will have no choice but to try something else. Perhaps drones, nuclear weapons, death towers, perhaps a virus that's even worse than this one. Time will tell. But I think that at this stage we should focus on who's responsible for letting this virus in. And who do you think that is, ladies and gentlemen? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We're broadcasting live on the ScrewTube channel. If you want to find out where that is, check out our website, stfnreport.com. And, we operate under the handle Stranger Than Fiction News because the truth is stranger than fiction. But this is just another genocide program. It's another eugenics program. And it's no different than the cell towers, no different than the fluoride, the vaccines, no different than the GMOs and the like. And so people should act accordingly. You've known for years that these people are out to get you. And you probably thought you had more time. You probably thought that, this was going to be years away. But it's happening right now. Check out this liquidation program. You see the white vans, the people in the white suits. Undoubtedly, those will be libtards in American cities. And then there's buses. Now, as this video progresses, you're going to see that they're liquidating, entire buildings. And they just go in and announce, your building has been contaminated. We are here to help you. And people go willingly. And they don't even know what's coming. It's like the cattle car. And instead of bringing them to Auschwitz, they're bringing them to, some kind of makeshift quarantine center where they'll be infected for sure, and then they'll be left to die. And, those are probably the lucky ones. The unlucky ones are basically buried alive in their buildings, no escape, and they just have to starve. And we're starting to see, lots of videos of people, jumping off the buildings, hanging themselves, setting their apartments on fire and the like. And, in the big cities, most people live in, this type of environment, like in China. They live in the high rises, they live in the apartment buildings. And so, all of these mega cities are going to get wiped out. People in the small towns and the like, are going to be the last stop for this virus and the last stop for, the MRAPs and the liquidation. And that's where, the resistance has to happen. These big cities are gone. There's no sense trying to go in there and save the libtards. But when they start rolling into your town, you need to survive. You need to push back, and it'll happen. And unfortunately, it may look like Iraq. It may look like Syria. And the difference between, Iraq and Syria, and the U.S. is, rather significant. And while we do have lots of advantages like, guns and this, that, and the other, they definitely have an advantage, which is, all of their buildings are made of concrete. All of their buildings are bulletproof for the most part. But most homes in America are not. They'll be like Swiss cheese. Here you're looking at disturbing video of children being loaded into body bags. This outbreak kills children despite what you might have heard on the television. And so, people shouldn't have a false sense of security regarding what is about to happen. We recommend that everybody, pull their kids out of school right now. And if they ask questions, you're homeschooling. Fuck off, pardon the language. But, either that or you're taking a huge risk right now. And, by the time they start announcing critical cases in the hospital, everybody in your town will be infected. So it takes 3 weeks for, the first cases to basically go to ICU. And by that time, everybody in the city is infected. That's how this bioweapon works. And again, it's made to work around standard containment. Masks won't work for the most part. Their tests won't work for the most part. People are spreading this virus, spreading this disease without even showing symptoms. So it's made to evade detection. By the time they do detect it, it's too late. By the time they do announce on CNN or NBC that there's a problem in Houston, it's way, way too late. And so people need to start getting ahead of this virus instead of trying to catch up to this virus. If your kid comes home from school with this virus, everybody's going to get contaminated. And you may lose your kid, so it's not worth it. So take that to heart. And, start preparing out there. This isn't a joke anymore. They're starting to lock down, cities in Italy. If this is happening in Italy, if this is happening in North Korea or South Korea and Iran and Japan, it's undoubtedly happening to America as well. There's many more Chinese coming to America than going to Japan, they're saying that at the height of the epidemic, there were 20,000 Chinese landing in America every day. And this was going on for at least a week, if not 2 or 3 weeks. So, this must be in just about every town, every city right now. And the clock is ticking before the first cases show up at ICU. So at this stage, we recommend, social distancing and putting in place precautionary measures as bold, and it kind of just depends on how bold you want to be. But at this stage, especially if you live in the big cities and you have to go into the Walmarts over there or something, I'd wear the full gear, forget it. It's not worth it at this stage. They'll catch up with you eventually. And if you start doing that, it might give other people the idea to do the same thing. And that, may slow things down a little bit for your town. So you should be looking to be a superhero for your community instead of, trying to follow what the other sheeple are doing. You should lead by example, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it's real important to realize, the nature of this virus. Just a few weeks before all this started happening, the Chinese were bragging on, the world media that they were going to rewrite the Bible. And now, they've been hit with like the biblical plague. And not only that, but, locusts and other things. And we're going to see this basically wipe out, every major city of the world, wipe out the beast system. Sodom and Gomorrah is going to burn. So it's important to realize, that, the day of reckoning has arrived for these evildoers. And so, this is all the more reason to start going back to the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. And start understanding, where you should be in terms of our religion. And, it's important that you follow the 10 Commandments. It's important that you know them by heart if you want to survive. And, keep saying your prayers out there. But remember that you've been given a brain, hands, and feet. You're meant to, prepare physically for what's coming. Back in the day, they would have to harvest and stock up for the winter or else they weren't going to survive. And if you didn't stock up for the winter, that was your problem. And so don't just assume that everything will work out if you do nothing. You need to prepare, ladies and gentlemen, to say the least. And these videos, one after the other of this outbreak is rather, it tells a story. Each one of them. We're not necessarily, showing the very best videos. This was kind of like before the outbreak. Let's see. But, we've got tons of videos of checkpoints, liquidation, extraction, brutality, war crimes, genocide, and the like. We know that this virus has, fingerprints of HIV, which is common practice in research laboratories. They love mixing, viruses with HIV for some reason. And, we've covered the white papers in our video archives. Be sure to check out the video archives for, more information on that, where this virus came from, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact that it does have HIV in this virus tells us beyond any doubt that this was spawned from a lab. Now, initially they were like, this came out of the seafood market, the wet market. But what they didn't tell you was that 300 yards away, 3 football fields away, was a weapons lab doing research on this very same virus. And undoubtedly, it transitioned from the lab into the seafood market right next door. And then they let it just blow up into, a worldwide pandemic. Now, it's also important to note that not only did they let these planes in, let this virus in, but they're continuing to have like mass gathering events like, Trump rallies or, DNC debates and the like, so that more and more people can be infected. And we're learning that in France tomorrow is the big agricultural farmers market. 1 million visitors will be there for the weekend, and it's going to spread that virus into every farmland, every small town in the country. By this time, 2 weeks from now, that country is going to be a full meltdown, if not before. And we're seeing this in just about every other country. But right now, the big breaking news, Italy has locked down 10 cities in the north between Venice and Milan. And, small towns, we should say, have been locked down under quarantine. Case numbers are exploding over there, exploding in South Korea, Japan, and the like. And it must be much, much worse than what they're telling us. And of course, we got super spreaders here touching all the door handles, peeing on everything. This thing spreads through pee, spreads through everything. We're learning it spreads through the sewers, it goes up the pipes. So be sure to get some plugs for the drains. Get everything you can, ladies and gentlemen. Expect everything to basically break down in no time at all. Look at that guy. That guy didn't even flinch. He's like, "What do you think you're doing?" But given what we've seen from China, which is kind of like a window into the future right now, people should prepare for the last stand. And they shouldn't be out there when the first waves of this virus come through your town. Otherwise, you just may drop dead like the rest of the sheeple out there. I think it's going to be better to enjoy the show, better to enjoy Sodom and Gomorrah being wiped out than to go out with them. Don't be a sheeple out there, ladies and gentlemen. Start preparing for what's coming. And, video after video, we're seeing body bags, liquidation, extermination, war crimes, genocide. And, you've got companies like Fakebook and ScrewTube, now, joining forces with the Chinese to suppress information. And, that was in the mainstream news. And so these people aren't on your side. The government officials, the people on TV, these weirdos from Silicon Valley and the like, they're not on your side. They're on the side of the Chinese. They're on the side of the New World Order, and they're trying to exterminate you. Ladies and gentlemen, come get your vaccine. Come get your temperature checked. Come to their FEMA camps. Enjoy your stay right next to the crematorium and the like. You can either go out like that, or you can go out like a rock star. What's it gonna be out there? And if everybody takes out a few bad guys, soon there won't be any left. And every war's got casualties, but if you're gonna go out anyways, you might as well take a few bad guys with you. Take out the goon squads. Go get a radio jammer. If you can't get one, look into spark radios. The original radios were made out of a spark gap, and that will work quite well as well. But set up your ambush. Set up your geofence. Look at these videos. I mean, it's just you see people basically gurgling for their last breaths and the like, and you can bet that if they bring you into one of these hospitals or quarantine centers, you're just going to end up this way. They won't have enough resources. They can't isolate you and protect you. You'll get infected. You'll get, even more virus being there. It'll be a downward spiral and the like. And then people will be forced to come visit you and they'll get infected. And it's just going to be like, trench warfare all over again. Here's, more body bags. And, we've just got, more liquidation events and the like. And so once you start seeing them gather like this, let your neighbors know and just boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? That's all you can do if they're going to try and liquidate your block. And look, we're not saying to do that right now, obviously. But if it comes down to that, where there's no denying they're liquidating people, you have a right to defend yourself. That's your constitutional right. And the reason that you have a Second Amendment is because the citizens are supposed to be the final check and balance in the system. And so, that's your constitutional duty as Americans, to defend, your town, your city from centralized tyranny. And that's all it is these days. A bunch of demons and their beast system running the show, trying to exterminate people. Once you recognize the enemy for what it is, then you can do something about it, or else you're going to end up like, these people, which end up like, in a box, right? So don't go out like them. And, it may be impressive as they roll into town, but it'll be a whole lot, it'll be a lot less impressive after, the neighborhood watch opens fire. And, I think eventually, everybody's going to get with the program. They're going to understand that these people on TV have, let this virus in, have unleashed it on all our towns and communities, that these people on TV and these government officials, are looking to wipe everybody out. They're not just incompetent when it comes to their jobs. They're dangerous. They're serial killers. And so, we're dealing with the worst of the worst. And this is coming, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you may not see the videos of the body bags in your town, but they'll be there. And, it's only a matter of time. Right now, it's kind of like the peak of the flu season, so they can hide a few of these as, pneumonia deaths or, heart attacks when they drop dead and the like. But eventually, they won't be able to hide the numbers anymore. And that day is coming soon. And once that happens, then it'll be the lockdown, then it'll be the curfews, it'll be the liquidation. And either you're going to go out quietly into the night, or you're going to resist out there. And you can only resist if you prepare. And your window, is closing. The window to prepare for this disaster is closing, ladies and gentlemen. You only have days to really kind of get everything you need before things start getting crazy out there. And, beyond that, it's going to be risky. It's probably already very risky right now to go out there. We just don't know it. This virus isn't going to announce itself when it enters into your town. And these super spreaders, once they're infected, they have a mind of their own. They have to infect as many people as they can. We've seen people try to escape the quarantine and the like. It's like the zombie apocalypse. And really, this virus, it turns your cells into zombies to mass produce more virus. It is a zombie virus. It might not be Night of the Living Dead kind of zombie, but it is a zombie virus, and this is a zombie apocalypse. And, these videos are real. And you really have to ask yourself the question, well, why isn't the television being more honest when it comes to what's going on here? They could be, much more honest, ladies and gentlemen, but they don't want you to know. They don't want you to be prepared. Here's, another super spreader spitting on everything. And they say this stuff lasts like, 30 days, up to 30 days. So your mail, the money, your Amazon packages are all going to be contaminated. Body bags everywhere. So that's coming, ladies and gentlemen. We're already starting to see videos of Twitchers outside of China, and soon you'll have them, in your city. Question is, are you going to be prepared? Are you going to go through these checkpoints and get picked up, or are you going to survive out there? It's grim. It's grim. And, there's so much to talk about. Again, we recommend people check out our video archive. Start day one of the outbreak if you have to, which would have been January 22nd, 23rd. um, and go from there. And you'll see how this story has evolved for yourself, throughout the days here. And it's just, looking worse and worse and worse. And we've got endless videos like this, where you can see them basically just round people up for nothing at all and liquidate entire buildings. You can see the checkpoints. You can see, women being abused and the like. This is tyranny in action, and it's only going to get worse. All of this, recent videos, all of this bona fide and the like, the liquidation. This is a little more recent, where we're seeing the mass liquidation. They're emptying out buildings and the like. They're gassing you, spraying you like bugs, body bags everywhere, and this is, outside of China now. This isn't just China. This isn't just a China problem. This is a worldwide problem. And look at this hospital. It looked really nice. They didn't show you the crematorium right next door, but they should have. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of things they should have done. They had 30 days to stop this thing, and they didn't. And they let it spread for another 30 days, pretty much, before they locked everything down. So, here's another liquidation event. And, these are people realizing that their livelihoods are, totally screwed. They're destroying their own flowers at the market. Those were the early days when they understood, there's going to be a lockdown. It's all over. And so if you don't have supplies, if you don't have the gear, you're not going to be much good to anybody. And so, here's people like basically, throwing themselves off, the ledge here. It's pretty disturbing footage. There it goes. So people trying to escape quarantine. This virus has a mind of its own. More dead bodies and the like, more liquidation and, more dead bodies. You're starting to get the picture. More mass arrests. There's a little kung fu there at the checkpoint. Here's, mass liquidation. So they're roped up, never to be seen from again for the most part. And here they're welding, doors shut, right? And, they're roping people up. And, and they're serious too. They're real serious. More dead bodies. What else can you say? This guy's going out too. And, here's another forced extraction. So when the goon squad comes in, you know what to do out there. So they'll be coming like this. So wait for it to be like this. When it gets like this, remember these videos. You'll have a choice. You can go out like a rock star. You can go out like a bitch. That's basically up to you. Here's video. This is in Beijing just yesterday. Mass liquidation. So we'll just let this play out a little bit. And more dead bodies. So here's one. Again, these buildings are sealed. People are starving. They're just hanging themselves. Disturbing footage, ladies and gentlemen. And more dead bodies and just more of the same. Money won't matter. Here's a guy. He can't buy anything, so he's just throwing his money out. It's like, here, take it. What do you want to do with it? You out of toilet paper? So here's more, extractions and the like. So feel free to share, mirror, like this content. Check out our website, stfnreport.com. We'll leave it there for this broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.